Joining us here in studio, Mr. Dan Perry, international affairs analyst. Colombian President Gustavo Petro called this weekend for the International Criminal Court to issue an arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, warning that the Israeli premier will, quote, not stop the genocide in Gaza, while urging the Security Council to consider establishing peacekeepers in this war-torn territory. Dan Perry.
I think the Colombian president may be a little bit confused because there really was a genocide in recent months, but it happened on October 7th. Yeah. Because by the definition of genocide in the Genocide Convention of 1948, genocide is the attempt to destroy in whole or in part a people, meaning there has to be intent. And Hamas committed genocide in the classic sense on October 7th. Israel may have had a light trigger finger, may have been insufficiently careful, a lot of things can be suspected, but it did not attempt to kill the Palestinians in whole or in part. But look, the ICC is much misunderstood. It's basically a club of countries trying to make the rules. Many important countries are not members of the ICC, and that includes the US and Israel. Moreover, the ICC, which is sort of an offshoot of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, which did indict dozens and dozens of people, in the 22 years of its existence, has a handful of indictments and only really went after about 5 miscreants, none of them from democratic countries. Now, there have been plenty of democratic countries involved in the killing of civilians in large numbers, including the US, yep. Even recently, and the UK, in Mosul, in Raqqa, in Iraq in general, in the fight against Islamic State. I really would be interested in asking the prosecutor Khan of the ICC, if they really do indict Netanyahu, why they did not indict Obama and Trump for the many thousands of civilian casualties that died in the fight against Islamic State. Moreover, there's nothing in their bylaws that prevents them from indicting a terrorist group or even a rogue government, and that's what Hamas is in Gaza. So if they really indict Netanyahu and the heads of the IDF and don't indict Yahya Sinwar and Hamas, that would be comically absurd, and they would be walking into a trap because plenty of people in the world want to delegitimize the ICC as basically a completely political arm that is in some ways toothless and in other ways mindless. And I fear that they would accomplish 2 things. One, they would confirm that the whole thing is selective justice and subjective justice. And 2, in fact, that might help Netanyahu. Because Netanyahu is incredibly beleaguered right now politically in Israel. And all the latest poll yesterday showed he'd lose the election by like 2/3 of the vote. This would give him an axe to grind, and he could claim an anti-Semitic plot against him, and he wouldn't be wrong. And he would be right, because it would be madness. And I can say more. The ICC can only accept member states. Palestine is not a state. It was accepted in 2015 in this weird, bizarro universe procedure that didn't include the member countries agreeing. Only the judges did it. Moreover, the initial investigation that they're talking about now that would justify this indictment if it comes in coming days began in 2021, before any of the current crisis was in effect. And Israel's not an ICC member, so stuff that happens in Israel is not under their jurisdiction. Palestine, by their bizarre process, is, but Palestine has no territory. So the ICC, if they really indict Israel for something that happened on Palestinian territory, would essentially become the first body on earth to decide the outcome of negotiations on what is Palestine. The whole thing is so outrageous that I really respectfully urge them to step back. Now, if they want to rattle the saber a little bit and frighten Israel because they feel the pressure from the rest of the world that is indeed unhappy with Netanyahu's prosecution of the war, and here I share that sensation, then sure, let them pretend.
Well, comically absurd, you said.
I'm being kind.
Yeah. Dan Perry, thank you very much for this.